Welcome to the latest, and here's to the greatest.
Start.
Hi, my cool friends, and welcome to the channel of Haunted History, where I bring haunted hotspots right to your location. I'm your spooky host, Manda with this saying, you can take the paranormal out of the girl, but not the girl out of the paranormal. And this location has been talked about many times, but not by me till now. And this was requested by one of my friends, and I will be taking you on the haunted journey of the Stanley Hotel. It welcomes you. All the information I have gathered from research books as well as the internet, so the haunted tour begins. The Stanley Hotel was built by Freeland Oscar Stanley. He was also co-owner of the Stanley Motor Carriage Company, and this will be relevant as we continue. In 1903, Freeland Oscar Stanley was stricken with the life-threatening disease tuberculosis. Treatment recommendations back then was fresh air, sunlight, and a healthy diet. So Mr. Stanley and his wife Flora arrived in Denver, Colorado. Then in June, the Stanleys moved to S Parks, Colorado. Over this season, Mr. Stanley's health improved dramatically, and he fell in love with the land and the location of East Park, or S Park. I'm not quite sure how that's pronounced, but it's one of the two, so I'm going to call it by S Park. So in 1907, construction began on the Stanley Hotel, a 48-room grand hotel that catered to the wealthy of that time. The main hotel and concert hall were completed in 1909, and the grand opening was that summer of July 4th. Not only was this grand hotel for the wealthy, it was also a retreat for people who suffered from tuberculosis. Because this location had helped Mr. Stanley, I feel he may have wanted to help other patients, but that's just my opinion, so don't come for me. Then a year later, in 1910, the manor was complete. Now, since it opened, time for the fun part, the guests. So, to bring guests to the hotel from the nearest depot was from the foothills towns of Lyon, Colorado, and Stanley's car company produced a fleet of specially designed steam-powered vehicles called mountain wagons that seated multiple passengers. And I wanted to add this piece of information because I found it very interesting, so I hope you do too. But on June 25th of 1911, the hotel had a disaster happen. They were filling pipes in the kitchen with gas for the stoves. I'm not quite sure of the exact scenario, but an explosion occurred, damaging the hotel structure and injuring a maid. The maid was hurled from the second to the first floor, where both of her ankles were broken, and it was also reported 7 African American waiters were also injured in the explosion. Now, after the massive repairs and the maid healing from her injuries, she returned to work in 1913 and remained employed at the hotel till 1950. Also, very interesting information I wanted to share. Mr. Stanley owned the hotel this whole entire time till 1926. He sold the hotel to a private company incorporated for the sole purpose of renting it out of another state. But the sale failed. Then in 1929, Mr. Stanley purchased his property out of foreclosure, selling it again in 1930 to fellow automobile and hotel guru Roe Emery. He then ran it the rest of the time. I guess the Stanleys, Mr. and Mrs. wanted to return to Newton, Massachusetts, but on October 2nd of 1940, Mr. Stanley passed away of a heart attack at the age of 91. 1 year after his wife Flora passed away from a stroke. By this time in 1970, the hotel had fallen into grave despair due to years of neglect. I couldn't find any owners during this time or what was actually happening to the hotel, but it was somehow reconstructed because in 1983, the resort was opened only during summer and closed during the winter months. I don't have a lot of info on this timeline, and I apologize for that, but since then, it has been up and running from then till now, with plenty, I guess, of live and some not so much, because you guessed it. Mr. and Mrs. Stanley have returned to their precious hotel. Many have sensed their presence throughout their hotel. Mr. Stanley likes to frequent the bar in the billiard room where his wife loves tinkering around with the piano and the dining area. Another ghostly guest who loves the Stanley is a child. He loves playing with guest hair, and many guests have heard the laughter of a child and seen an image of a child on the fourth floor to turn around, and no child was ever there. The Stanley Hotel has had a couple more creepy locations, and these include an on-site pet cemetery where some of the owner's pets have been laid to rest over the years. Cassie, a friendly golden retriever, is said to still be delivering newspapers and scratches at doors to be let in from the outside, despite being buried on the ground. There's also a cave system located under the hotel, and the reason for this was in the early days, it was seen as unprofessional for staff to be seen by guests, so employees used underground pathways to travel between rooms like the hotel bar, the restaurant, the laundry facilities, and the ghost of a pastry chef is said to haunt parts of this underground system. Not much is known on how he passed, but his spirit still lurks below with the aromas of baked goods. Now this place sounds like it was made for me to explore. My sweet tooth is like, yes, we need to see and taste the sweets. But with the sweets must come the sours, because room 401 is known to be the creepiest room in the hotel. It is thought to be haunted, and I say it this way for my skeptics, because I know you're out there. But it's reported this male ghost is very unfriendly. Some women have claimed that they were touched inappropriately by an unknown presence while standing near the room's closet. Now, down the hall of the hotel at room 407, multiple guests have had odd experiences of being tucked into bed. But this ghost is more helpful than scary. Guests have had clothes folded neatly in their suitcases, and it is believed that she is the maid from the gas explosion who had the longest employment at the hotel. See what I did there? That's why I mentioned her. Her presence from then till now is still there, and she is still employed, but in her own mysterious way. She must have really loved that job for her to make her presence known in her afterlife. Some also say they can feel her sitting on the bed, but no one is there. And I think if I were to stay at the Stanley Hotel, I'd choose this for my room. Speaking of rooms, room 428 had had some spooky occurrences. Some had seen visions of a cowboy looming over their bed as they slept. Or they seen the cowboy just standing in the corner of the room. Not much is known about this, but there have been reports. There are not any more rooms above this room, but it's been reported of what sounds like furniture moving or footsteps. But are we creeped out yet? Are we going to be booking a stay anytime soon? If so, let me know your experiences. I love to read about them. Now for some fun facts about the hotel. This hotel was inspiration to Stephen King's book, The Shining. Also, the Stanley was featured on Ghost Adventures as well as Ghost Hunters. So there must be some truth to the hauntings, right? Go ahead, find out. Truth is out there. And before I vanish, I want to thank you viewers for tuning in. Thank you, Patrick Drew, for editing and making these videos a reality for me. And all of you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Hopefully I'll see you on the next haunted tour.